Ben Meeks,
Here.
Alan Casper,
Here.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell,
Here.
Brian Shield,
Here.
Coleman Mayhew,
Here.
Kermit King,
Here.
Steve Stallings,
Here.
John Brown,
Here.
Bert Sellers.
Here. All right, gentlemen, we're going to have a moment of silence. All right, thank you, gentlemen. If you'd rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank y'all. That brings us down to item 5. Take a moment to review your agenda. And if there's any additions to the agenda, we'll take them now. All right. Hearing no additions, if everybody's comfortable with the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion? Second. Roll call vote?
James Holly. Yes. Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank y'all. If you would, take a moment to review the minutes, and then we'll vote on those. All right. Got a moment to review the minutes. If everybody's comfortable with those, I'll entertain a motion to accept them as is.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That brings us down to item 8, presentations. Director Key, do we have any presentations tonight? No, sir. All right, thank you. Brings us down to number 9, hearing of the citizens. Is anyone signed up to speak? No, sir. All right, rolling right along. Brings us down to item 10, Fire and Rescue Association reports. Chief Fowler.
Yes, sir. At the last meeting, we heard representation from the hospital as well as from the folks from the Office of EMS, and we were asked to take a look at what fire and rescue wanted to propose for the diversion situation that we've been having at the hospitals. After much discussion, the Fire and Rescue Association wanted to bring it back to the commission and ask you all to send a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to let the hospitals know as of March 1st, we're going to follow the Office of EMS's recommendations. We're not sitting in the street. We're going to give them the patients, and we're going to clear up. That's what they recommended. According to them, in the eyes of the law, there's no such thing as diversion. They're going to get the patients.
Okay. And did every agency get a copy of that, of the complaint form that OEMS was?
I think that was sent out by the public safety to every transport agency, correct? Okay. Can we send it to all of them? We can do that.
Yeah, we got a copy somehow or another. Zach brought it, so I thought it was maybe at the meeting.
Okay. Well, now, I gave them a copy there, but I would rather
Yeah,
us have a digital track on
yeah.
it.
Everybody needs a copy of that, because that's how the Office of EMS just told us last month that we need to go about making a complaint each time that this happens.
Okay.
I need to flood the office with complaints until something's done about it.
And I'll have to say, over the last couple of weeks, Danville has been a lot better.
They have been better, you said?
A lot.
Good. It's awesome.
Yeah, we actually met with them, public safety and the Danville life-saving crew met with the hospital and discussed it, you know, a lot of the things that are going on for diversions and everything. So it has been a better operation since that point. Not saying we did anything to fix it. I think it's just been less visiting the hospital is what it is.
Okay. All right, anything else, Chief Fowler?
I got the ARPA conversation, but we can do that when we get to that point in the agenda, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. Sounds
Okay.
good.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you. We'll bring the motion from the association up. We'll bring that up under unfinished business. I'll add that. All right, Director Key, we're down to county staff reports.
All right, just a reminder, we've got the 4 for Life funding and the ATL funding available to all the agencies if they haven't turned in the receipts for reimbursement for the fire or EMS side. EMS inspection is coming up. I want to remind everybody, we've sent a couple packets of information out that hopefully will help with everyone's inspections. Ours starts in the first week of March. One thing I did not include on here, the Sheriff's Department has asked to do a tabletop exercise on April the 6th at 1 p.m. at the Ag Complex. It's going to be a mass casualty simulation event involving the school system, and they're asking for as much participation from all the EMS agencies, fire and EMS agencies we can get. So if each one could send a representative, it'd be great. I know Billy Cheney with the Sheriff's Department has been working on this, trying to get enough help to be able to run it. He's asking for 20. So it'd be great if we could get 20 people to be able to contact him to be able to show up.
Will you send that out to all the agencies, reminding them?
Yeah, it's in the weekly newsletter. I'll send it out again tomorrow.
Okay.
Director Key, what's the date on that again?
It's April the 6th.
April 6th.
Yes, sir.
I think you said 1 p.m.
1 p.m. Yeah, at the Ag Complex.
Do they want just a representative, or they want an apparatus there too, or?
Just a representative. It's all a tabletop exercise. They'll break down into, I guess he's going to try to get about 20 tables of just representatives from all the organizations to be able to come and to be able to discuss the protocols and how it would work, you know, if a situation like this breaks out, so.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you, Director Key. Any questions for the director? All right. If not, that will bring us down to number 12, unfinished business. So we'll pick up with the association. We asked them, as the chief said a little while ago, to discuss the diversion. You guys heard what the CEOs had to say at the last meeting. So now their request to us from the association is to send a request to the Board of Supervisors to send a letter to Danville letting them know that we're going to follow OEMS guidelines going forward, starting, you said March, is that correct?
March 1st, and they made it a note to send all of the hospitals that we transport to.
So all hospitals.
So we don't single anybody out.
Got you. Okay. What's y'all's pleasure? Discussion on it? What's your pleasure?
I'll move that we send that to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, Mr. Casper. All right, second by J.D. Brown. Any discussion on the motion? All right, roll call vote.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell, Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, any other unfinished business from last month? I know there's a few things that's listed under new business. Technically, it fell from last month. Controlled substance registration, we're going to talk about that. The budget, we'll talk about that. I don't think, is there anything else anybody has to bring up unfinished? All right, if not, we'll move down to 13A. It's going to be Board of Supervisors Communication. Mr. Vic Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I made you guys a copy of the 23-24 adopted budget calendar and put it at your place setting, and I didn't realize that Glenn had already beat me to it and put it in the packet. Chris, I'm sorry. But anyway, thank y'all for doing that. So now you'll know what we're looking at.
Awesome. Thank
And
you, sir.
that's all I had, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, that brings us down to item B, budget discussion. Director Key.
Yeah, that, sorry, didn't know you was going to do that, but I included that in the budget packet with the agenda packet, so everybody could see where we're at in the budget process. I presented my case on January the 23rd to the Finance Committee and to the County Administrator. And put in all the recommendations that are on the agenda packet that was brought up by this committee, and it's been submitted.
All right, any discussion on the budget from this board? I know one of the commissioners asked me, and I'm not sure, did you ever get a copy, and I may have missed it, where we were trying to divide the budget up?
I've got it, but I've got to finalize it with Kim Vanderhyde to make sure everything's correct.
Okay. And when you presented the budget, you presented the volunteer side and the public safety all as one?
Yes, presented all together, yes, sir.
Okay. Was there any feedback? What was the feedback to you on that?
Thank you. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, you present everything, you had to go through each line item and basically discuss what it was and, the increase involved with it. So it basically was started there, and it was like we will work on the budget from here. So every department head had to do that.
Got you. I think it's important to realize, we appreciate all the help we can get for our volunteers and obviously our public safety staff. And I know sometimes the board members, they try to figure out where all these numbers come from, and I know I hear talk sometimes of our county versus county surrounding us. Like Franklin County, they buy all the apparatus for their departments. Campbell County, they buy all the turnout gear and air packs for their departments and whatnot. That's not how we do it, correct, Director Key? We give an allotted amount, and the agency's responsible for purchasing and taking care of their own
Yes, sir.
equipment and turnout gear, air packs, extrication equipment, EMS supplies. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I think that's important to realize for our board members and our commissioners, if you don't know. So when you're trying to compare apples to apples, you need to make sure you got the, same type of apples. So, plus our county land mass size isn't, the size of the state of Rhode Island. So, factors there to consider. Mr. Ingram, if you take that back to the board members as they contemplate.
I'll be glad to.
Thank you, sir. And if they have any questions, please ask us.
I'm sure they will.
Good. I like questions. All right. Any other discussion on the budget before we move on? All right, if not, we're going to move down to Fire and Rescue Memorial. So I'll take this one. So I talked to Vic a little while ago, and sometimes it feels like you're beating your head against the wall, I feel like. So our game plan was to present to the board members week after next on the 21st a presentation of where we stand, but that has been stopped at this point because we've learned that the property is actually owned by the school board, And so there's some steps we're going to have to take to possibly get this property and some other things. We gotta get answers to questions to the county before we can move forward. But I anticipate still going in March and presenting to the Board of Supervisors and I guess to the school board. But I can't elaborate any further until our committee meets week after next on the 21st. We're going to meet at 5 o'clock at the Public Safety Building to discuss the memorial going forward, and hopefully I intended on having the same thing we were going to present to the board in y'all's packet tonight, but because everything got stopped, it's not there. So that's the update I have. Wish it was more, but that's it.
Could I add something to that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
My understanding technically is that the Pennsylvania County owns it all. And like with the school board buildings and fields and et cetera, they manage it, but in essence, we own it.
Right.
And we're sort of going through that with this facility right here. So I think you've got a good plan, but to me, the simplest thing to do, once we get that clarified, is to ask the school board to, by way of a resolution or whatever, to outline that piece of property that you spoke of and let it be used for such. And I don't really see a problem with that. So.
And the sheriff's memorial, just for clarification purposes, because y'all fundraised for it several years ago when it was built, and then gave it to the county essentially. And the county, they maintain it. Is that correct?
We had to get permission through the Board of Supervisors to put it there. And if you recall, there was a very primitive water fountain. I don't know, it was right hideous looking. Actually, the guy that built it, I put in jail for breaking in a state police agent's house.
Yeah.
But he convinced somebody in the jail he knew how to lay brick, and it was a mess.
Yeah.
So that's where we ended up putting the memorial. But all we had to do is get the Board of Supervisors to give us permission. And I think there were some other provisions in there that they offered up some money, just like the town of Chatham, Gretna, et cetera, and then we built it. But yes, it came back to county maintenance, to building grounds to maintain it,
Okay.
but it belongs to the county.
Did y'all start a 501c3 when you done that?
Did not.
Okay.
Nope.
All right.
That's really not worth it for what you're doing here. If it was going to be an ongoing process, yeah, maybe so. But just to raise funds to build a memorial, and once it's built, that ends the process. It's no need.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, so like I said, that's the game plan going forward. We appreciate that feedback.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go to item D under new business. It's going to be discussion of the radio replacement. This will be Director Key.
Yeah, you had added in that you wanted to try to get 2 additional radios per department, and I hadn't figured in that in the budget process.
Yes, sir.
And talking with the radio repair, the radio group, I don't know that there's one radio that will allow us to talk to everybody that surrounds us in the counties.
Right.
That would be the only thing. There's no one radio out there that's going to talk to every county.
I got you. Yeah, so what I had asked the director was to look into having a lot of our agencies border or run mutual aid with, Campbell, Halifax, Franklin, what on. But those radios that we have right now and the radios that we're getting, they do not talk county to county. They only talk inside our county. And so you run into communication issues and interoperability issues when you run a mutual aid with these departments. So that was my question. I know the radios that the public safety staff, there's some agencies outside of the county y'all can talk to, is that correct?
It's the same ones that y'all can. So, what we're doing, we're trying to get with Jason to get a separate talk group to where we'll be able to talk to Halifax, to be able to talk to do the Viper system in Carolina. He's working on it, but we're not close yet on it.
I got you. But will the new radios we're looking at buying be able to house that, to talk to outside counties? I'm looking up there at y'all. Sorry.
He's been working on it. He's been making phone calls left and right to try to figure out what we can do to be able to talk county to county, every direction.
I was just checking with Jason on where he was at on that. We are looking at doing what we've done, like with the helicopter channels, like tying in at White Oak with a UAC audio card to where it would patch it into a talk group on the radio system. So as far as any radio on our system, no matter what type it is, if it's a standard talk group, it'll function just like any other talk group. You'll be able to add it to any radio type and be able to talk as long as that permanent audio patch is left in place at White Oak once it's created.
Thank you, Daniel. Jace, appreciate that. All right. Any questions for the director on the radio replacement? He's asked for 100 radios, correct?
Yes, sir.
So $130,000, $1,300 per radio.
Yep.
So,
Included that in the CIP budget for this year.
and that's in the
Yes,
CIP budget.
Yes, sir.
And our chargers and batteries, well, the chargers and batteries they'll work with what we have now,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All righty. Moves us down to item E under new business. And again, this is a pickup of last month. This is the controlled substance registration. And again, back to you, Director Key.
We actually had our inspection this past Monday on the 6th. Took her about an hour. She come down, she basically had printed out the inspection report, and we went through the first 3 pages, word for word. You know, everything we had to have and everything we had to do. As far as I could tell, I can't say we passed because she has to report back to the Board of Pharmacy, and the Board of Pharmacy has to issue us the license if we pass. So we should know something within 30 days as to whether or not we passed. She didn't have any problems with anything we had or our setup, so hopefully we'll get that done and behind us.
Okay. And I think this was continued because we never approved here the direction we wanted to go. And I think we had asked the association for their opinion on this as well. But it was also, the question was brought up was what was the coverage going to be with our insurance? And I think Director Key checked on that because somebody's got to be the responsible party, the responsible individual that signs this license, saying that, you know, they're going to be the overseer of it. So can you elaborate on that?
Mr. King.
Mr. Chairman, we had the insurance meeting yesterday, and he did say our policy would cover the CSR, but it wouldn't cover any fines. It would cover you on the malpractice side. And if I remember correctly, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But he said, I guess it's just like driving a car. Your insurance will cover you, but they won't cover you if you get a ticket.
I got you.
Yeah, they're not gonna pay the fine on it.
Yeah, he said he's not going to pay, he can't pay the fine, but he'll cover you under like the malpractice side.
Got you.
Or a third-party suit or something like that is what he said.
Okay. Any questions on that? So, Dean, you got anything from the association?
Right now, I think it's the intent of the agencies to apply for a CSR license for the Schedule 6 and then hold our breath and see what's going to happen with the narcotics down the road.
I think, from my understanding, the way she explained it, if you're not going to store them in your building, if you're just going to put them on your apparatus, your ambulances, you don't have to have an inspection done. The only time you got to have that inspection done is if you're going to store the Schedule 6 drugs in your building.
Can y'all help us out with applying for this? Because I can tell you, we got denied even the application. And I paid my money and I never gave it back either. It's non-refundable. So,
Yeah.
so if y'all would let me know how y'all got y'all's done.
Yeah, I mean, we filled out the forms and, yeah, you had to submit a SOG with it of how you was going to run it, how it was going to be done. One thing that they did get us on was we didn't have a letter from the OMD that stated who was going to be managing it. So she was like, you just need to get this letter and put it in your file. And she says at any time in the future from 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, I can come and inspect your building. And yeah, and we've got to have it documented, all this medication in and out and where it went. So.
Okay. Very frustrating. The counties around us, they don't even know about this. Very frustrating.
Well, and Mark Bowery told us yesterday from VFIS, all the agencies he represents, he said he had never heard of this.
My OMD hasn't either, so, but whatever. So is there anything that we need to bring from this body? Sounds like the agencies are going to apply for the license. There's nothing we need to send to the board. So I guess we can,
I think the agencies that's going to store the stuff is going to apply for the license, and the ones that's going to have it on the trucks are going to continue like they are.
you don't have to apply for the license if you're not going to store the drugs. Is that correct?
The Office of EMS said every agency that carries them will have to have a CSR number. So you'll have to get that controlled substance registry number at some point.
You just won't have to have the inspection.
Yeah.
Okay. We're learning as we go. All right. Any other information on that you guys would like to discuss, or are we ready to move on? All right, moving on. All right, going down to item F, Insurance Committee reports. This is going to be Vice Chair King.
Yes, we met yesterday. We met with Mark Bowery, actually Director Key, Assistant Director Hutcherson, Chief Fowler, Commissioner Holly, and myself. We met with him yesterday at about 10 o'clock, which was a very educational meeting for about 4 hours.
Y'all have lunch?
Afterwards.
Yes. I didn't have a clue it was going to last that long.
Sorry, Casey.
Yeah.
But it was real educational. We got a lot out of it. We learned a lot. All of us learned a lot what we had, but we still got to do some informational stuff that we got to get together, and this group is going to have to meet. This same committee is going to have to meet several more times, and then we'll bring something back to the commission to know the process that we're going to have to go through. But it was real good. I was pleased with the meeting.
Okay.
But if I can answer any questions, I will, whatever I can. But like I said, we still got to meet and go through some of the information updates that we need to do.
Okay, any questions for Vice Chair on the insurance? This is for the committee.
We're going to have to meet with every organization and go through and make sure we've got every apparatus, every building, everything listed in this insurance packet to make sure we got everything covered. I know it was done, 3 years ago? And, a lot has changed over 3 years. Some things haven't been added. Actually, Scott found a couple things today that hadn't been dropped. Some vehicles that were sold and removed, but we've never dropped them. So that's something we're going to work on in the next few months.
Is that going to affect the cost of this?
Hopefully it'll bring it down, but we found some buildings that are not included in it, which will probably raise it up a little bit. But
Right.
they got to be covered. So
Yeah.
Like I said, we got to update some information, and that's going to require some traveling.
yeah,
One question I did have, what is the contract as far as renewal are we locked into with VFIS?
I think it's up. It can go out for RFP in 2025.
Yeah.
Is that what? I think it's what it says, 2025. And actually, like I said, we in budget cycle 2024 now.
yeah.
So it's not as bad as it sounds.
So one good recommendation, we started this with the last commission, and this one will pick it up again. Keeping a committee going for the EMS rates and stuff. We should probably keep this committee going. We can change bodies as needed, but keep a committee going to review this yearly to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck and keeping that. I have no issues with them. I'm just like it's good to keep a look over it. One question I did have, responding to calls on personal vehicles, what does the coverage say?
According to Mike Bowery yesterday, y'all do want me to answer this, right?
Yes.
Because y'all were there too. But what he said that if a member has collision and comprehensive on their vehicle, they will pay the deductible up to $1,000. And if they didn't have collision or comprehensive, they would assume the responsibility for it, for the vehicle. And one of the questions we did ask, if a provider's insurance decided that they wasn't going to pay for some odd reason, he said he would assume he would be under something, he would be the primary, and then he would do the process to try to get his money back from the insurance, from the provider's insurance company.
So you said they'll pay up to $1,000 on the deductible?
On the deductible.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Mr. King on the insurance coverage? Thank you, that committee, for meeting. Appreciate y'all doing that. All right, that brings us down to ARPA funding. It's going to go back to Chief Fowler.
Mr. Chairman, we discussed it in the Fire Rescue Association meeting, and the majority agreed that we've been working, I think Director Key's been working on it since he came to work here, trying to get a complete accountability system that everybody in the county operate under on a fire scene or emergency scene, that it keeps up and tracks our personnel. That hadn't been accomplished due to funding, and I guess it's 12 agencies now that have it, Chris?
Yeah, 12 boards was purchased.
12 that have a partial system.
Yeah.
That being said, it was recommended that we try to put in place an accountability system that is countywide. Every agency has the equipment, and every agency gets the training, and then the funds that's left over, if there are any, we will put together a triage kit for each transport agency so that they'll have that capability as well.
Okay. All right. So we just need to make a motion, if you guys please, to send that to the board to allocate that money for that. This is the leftover ARPA funding. And then, how much money exactly was that?
$11,588.45.
To the number he said. What's your wishes?
My question, will that buy it, or will you need any extra money?
We haven't gotten in depth on exactly what we're wanting. The accountability boards run about $100 a piece. We've already got 12 in service. Most everybody has accountability tags already. I ain't gonna say everybody does. We need to check with every agency to get them to make sure they've updated their accountability tags. We can continue on because 11,000 is gonna buy a lot of accountability stuff.
It's going to take some committee work to
Yeah,
put a recommendation together as to what we actually want to put in place, and all the agencies agree to that.
Okay. Would you think it'd be fair to go ahead and send the recommendation to the board now to allocate that money for that, or?
Well, I don't want to see these agencies put all this work into a committee and it fall by the wayside because the Board of Supervisors doesn't want to use it for that.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's going to take a lot of legwork to get all of that stuff together and put it all together and put it out there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, what's your wishes, commissioners?
So move that we follow the Fire Association recommendation.
Okay, Mr. Holly, got a motion on the floor? Mr. Sellers, second. All right, any discussion on the motion? All right, if not, roll call vote.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell. Brian Shields.
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That motion passes. All right, that brings us down to 13H. It's going to be bylaws discussion, so I'll take that one. So there should be a copy of the bylaws in y'all's packet. It should be in the back. And it was brought to our attention that the association representative was the tiebreaker for a tied motion for this commission. And we just want to get feedback from the commission on y'all's thoughts about that, because what that does, that ties the hand, and this is not just for Dean, this is for Matt or whoever assumes the role of president or vice president. When we're trying to have meetings, like you take the insurance meeting, if you'd had more than 2 commissioners there plus the association rep, technically it has to be advertised as a public meeting. They can't meet. It stops business because the county attorney said it's technically, Dean is considered and I say Dean, it would be the association representative is considered a commissioner, although they don't have voting rights or, they don't make motions or anything except for in the event of a tie, which I was unaware about And if it's the case, it was incorrectly done on our last commission, but that was done and gone. So,
I think that's the way the ordinance states. So- And that, the bylaws are just copy of the ordinance.
I got you.
So in order to change that, you're going to have to change the ordinance. So that'll have to go before the Board of Supervisors to change that.
Does the ordinance also say that a tied vote is a dead vote?
And that I do not know. I know it
It's-
states in there.
It's in there.
Yeah, so I know in the last commission meeting, when I made the motion, he made the motion, and I seconded to give Cool Branch their money. It was a tied motion, and I was told it was a defeated motion.
Yeah, it was in the minutes as a defeated motion.
So that was because I questioned it then, and they said, nope, it's a defeated motion. Then if that's the case, why does the bylaw say he breaks a tie? Again, that's not your fault, Chris. I'm just telling you that's what happened. So we need to get this straight on how we're going to go about this. My recommendation, this is just Ben's, it's a whole committee here, is we make a motion to change the bylaws and the ordinance and send it to the Board of Supervisors to update the ordinance, to take the association out as a voting member. They either need to be a voting member on everything, or they don't need to be a voting member on anything. Because then it ties hands when we're trying to have meetings. We tell them to go back. We give it's a lot of give and take. Director Key brings things to us. Association brings things to us. It's our job to process it, make decisions, and then send it to the board to make their best decision. Well, that's hard to do if we need to have a meeting together outside of the one night a month here. And this stuff don't just happen overnight. Because correct me if I'm wrong, that was Mr. Hunt, the county attorney, that's the standing why we have to have it advertised as a meeting, because of that's the way it's listed in the ordinance and the bylaws, correct?
Yes,
So what's y'all's wishes?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
We went through a similar problem with the Social Services Board, and that board, and I was on the board at the time, we corrected that problem to where the Board of Supervisors member was simply a liaison, and assured that we structured it to where you had enough folks on the committee to make sure you didn't have a tie vote. And you're exactly right. If it's tied, it's a dead issue. You can bring it back up later on, but we did go through that. So, with 11 on this commission, I can't see you ever having a problem with that, but who knows?
Right. Like I said, I just wanted to make sure that we're following our rules, because I know the last time this came up, this man made the motion, I seconded, and I was sitting right over there, and we was going to ask y'all to give Cool Branch their funding way back when, and it was defeated. It was a tied motion, and I questioned it because of the bylaws, and they said it's defeated.
Yep.
So, that's just my opinion. We need to make a change. Any other discussion on this matter?
So according to the city attorney, we got to make a change.
I don't know if that's his recommendation to make a change, but I would say, so that we don't contradict, we do need to make a change, because we have an odd number on this board, so it's not going to be a tie. And if it is, it's in the ordinance that it's a tie is a failed motion. So then our bylaws contradict that statement by saying then Dean would break the tie. And I say Dean again, I mean who's sitting in that chair would break the tie.
And where we really run into problems at is when we start doing this committee work.
Right.
Because we got two from the commission, Director Key, most time either Casey or assistant director, and then we always want two from the association. Yep. And most of the time the president's coming with one other member, or it could be president and the vice president, Matt. Once one of them comes in with Chief Fowler being listed as a tiebreaker on the commission, then that throws it into a public meeting with the two of us.
Right. Yeah, and that's, it's just the same thing with Matt. If Matt comes, he's still acting as representing the association, so it would be the same difference. And Matt or Dean, either one, that's the president, vice president. So, Y'all have a pleasure.
What, does this need to go to the attorney and then to the board, or does it have to go straight to the board first?
Get any feedback, Vic?
I think the biggest point I was trying to make is this being an independent board, just like the DSS board, they identified the problem and fixed it. You guys can identify the problem and fix it.
Okay.
Of course, I wouldn't forsake running this by Mr. Hunt, but
Yeah.
I don't see where the authority of one board supersedes the other. And it should be consistent across the board. We've been down that road, if some of y'all remember.
Yeah. That's right. I just want to be compliant with what our rules say,
Mhm.
and technically we're not right now, so.
I'm a little confused, Ben. Are you asking for somebody potentially to make a motion to change the current situation?
Well, yes, sir. I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody how they should word their motion or to vote, but I guess if we want to, if the ordinance says a tie is a failed motion, then we need to remove the association as even being a voting member at all from our bylaws, so that we are in a line with the ordinance. And if the ordinance says that the association rep has to be a voting member, then they're going to have to change something in the ordinance, because they also have it that a failed motion, a tie is a failed motion. So, and we have 11 here, so we'll never have a tie unless someone's not here, but we have 11 people here, so it should never be a tie. So, yes, that would be my recommendation, is to remove the association as a voting member, and then that clears the air, according to our county attorney, for committee work going forward, for them to be able, Dean or Matt or whoever sits in those chairs, to come to meetings. Because right now, if you and Mr. Holly's on a committee, and then, Chris and Casey's there, and then Dean shows up, or Matt, well, now we can't have the meeting, because it has to be a publicized and broadcasted meeting to the public, because technically y'all are all commissioners. But Dean can't make a motion, he can't vote on anything except for when there's a tie. And this was just brought to my attention because this wasn't followed properly last time when I brought the same issue up.
Well, I can see why a tie would be a failed motion, because there's no way it could be a passed motion.
Right.
So it has to be failed and maybe reintroduced at a later time. But I see the need of what you're talking about. I'm not quite sure the wording that I would make a recommendation or a motion for it. If somebody help me word it, I don't know. Maybe somebody here understands what kind of wording we need.
Well, I would just recommend that a motion be made to remove the association of any voting power whatsoever. They don't break ties, they don't vote at all on this body.
I'll make a motion that the association be removed from voting privileges. And is that adequate? Is that an adequate motion?
I think that would suffice. Director Key, you think that?
Yeah, just make him a reporting member.
Yeah.
He reports back from the association as opposed to a voting member.
As part of this motion?
I would include that just as a reporting. He's reporting back from the Fire Rescue Association.
All right, we'll make the chairman, whoever the chairman is of the Fire Association, will be a reporting member.
Yeah. And not a voter.
Okay, if you can carve all that together, that's my motion.
All right.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? All right, if not, roll call vote.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Brings us down to other matters from the commissioners. So we're going to start over here to our right. Chief Fowler, anything?
Nothing further.
All right, Mr. Ingram, anything?
No, sir, I do not. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brown?
Nothing at this time.
All right, Mr. Casper?
Nothing.
All right, Mr. Sellers.
Nothing.
All right, Mr. Holly.
Nothing.
All right, we'll come back to you, Kermit. Director Key.
Just a reminder, the burn ban starts February the 15th. That's coming up next week and goes to the end of April. Just want to put that out there as a reminder.
Okay. Thank you, Director. Sir. All right, we'll roll on. All right, Tim Kazale. Anything? All right, brother. Steve Stallings.
I'm good, thank you.
Yes, sir. Brian Shields.
No, thank you.
All right, Mr. Mayhew. Sounds good. All right, Director.
Yes, like I said, thank you, thank you everyone for the job that you do. Also, remember to keep the Haymore family, which is Commissioner Shields' family also. Keep them in your prayers for the loss of Ronnie Haymore, which was on the board of directors of Tunstall and on several boards for Pennsylvania County over the years. That's all I got.
I want to thank you volunteers for everything they do. I want to thank the Public Safety Department for putting up with us and keeping things straight. Chief Fowler, Matt, thank y'all for all the work on the association. The commissioners, thank y'all. Breezed through pretty quick on this one tonight. That's a good thing. Thank y'all for coming out and making this happen. I think we are headed in a good direction, and we've got good requests, and we're trying to be logical and be good with our money here for the county and giving direction to the board. So appreciate all the hard work that's being put in. Also, I'd like to ask that y'all remember the Short family. Amber Short, our vice president in Gretna, her father passed away, and she's having a pretty tough time with that. But and again, also the Haymore family, remember them. That's all I have. Thank you, gentlemen. Meeting adjourned.